Congrats on making it to the final interview. Reaching this stage is a huge accomplishment, but now the stakes are higher than ever. The final round interview is more than just a formality. It's your last chance to demonstrate why you should get the job over other candidates. I'm Jen, a career coach at Indeed, and I've helped many job seekers improve their interviewing skills. That's why I'm going to share the 9 best tips to help you ace your final interview. The tips toward the end are the most impactful, so be sure to stick around. And the last one is a big mistake most people don't know about, but you definitely want to avoid it. All right, let's dive in. Tip 1, prepare for behavioral interview questions. Now, first round interviews are different than phone screens and early interviews because you've already shown that you can do the job. So emphasizing your qualifications now is really a wasted effort. Instead, be prepared to answer behavioral-based interview questions. These are questions about your previous behaviors on the job, or maybe even hypothetical questions about how you'd handle possible scenarios at work. And you can typically spot a behavioral-based question because they generally start with, tell me about a time when, or can you give me an example of? Interviewers want to know what it would be like to have you as a member of their team or their company. So they ask questions like this in order to understand your reactions and thought processes. Some examples of behavioral-based interview questions include, can you give me an example of when you made a mistake at work? Tell me about a time where you felt most successful. Describe a situation where you demonstrated leadership skills. We'll link to our video that explains how to answer behavioral questions in the comments. But to keep it simple here, I'll just say that it's best to reflect on key stories that you like to tell about your career. Then, when asked an applicable question, describe the specific situation, the action that you took, and the results that you achieved. When in doubt, just think star. Before I move on, if you watched this far, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Tip number 2, demonstrate your knowledge of the role. You know a lot more about the role and the company now than when you first started speaking with the employer. Your final interview should reflect that knowledge and insight. Otherwise, it might seem like you haven't been paying attention, or maybe you're not that interested in the role. Review your notes and reflect on what you've learned about the company, its goals, and what it wants from a candidate. Now, did the recruiter mention anything about team culture? Did you learn more about the daily responsibilities from the hiring manager? Be sure to refresh your memory, and when given the opportunity, show that you are listening by referencing what you now know. A good way to signal that you've been paying attention is by saying things like, I've been thinking about what your teammate previously said, and... This also applies to the way that you present yourself. If you've learned that the company is casual, showing up to the final interview in a formal suit might indicate that you don't fully understand the company culture. Show professionalism by dressing a touch more formal than what the people in the office wear. But remember that the goal is to show that you would be a good fit for their team. Tip number 3, ask informed, thoughtful questions. Now, if you found yourself asking the same questions at the end of every interview, you're not alone. It's hard to come prepared with thoughtful questions, especially when you've been interviewing a lot. However, more than at any other point in the hiring process, the questions that you ask in the final interview must be informed. These questions are more than an opportunity for you to get answers. They're also a chance to demonstrate that you've been paying attention to what it takes to succeed in this job. If you have questions that reference your new knowledge, company goals, or the business strategy, now is the time to ask. I recommend having at least 3 questions prepared for the end of the interview. And a pro tip, end the interview on a positive note by asking the interviewer to share their proudest accomplishment. Tip number 4, be clear about your commitment. Hiring is an expensive, resource-heavy, and lengthy process, so it makes sense for a company to view employees as a long-term investment. Now, if you see this job as a place where you want to work for a while, be sure to make that known. You could mention it when you discuss your long-term career goals, or even slip it in when you're talking about how you see yourself contributing to the company's mission. Just make sure what you share is authentic to how you truly feel, and include a few things that you'd like to achieve. That way, you're showing that your commitment isn't purely selfish. You're thinking about how you can make the biggest contribution to the company. Tip number 5, send a follow-up email. Now, I know that sending thank you emails seems like a far-gone tradition, but it can really make the difference. It's a small, personal touch that can make a final positive impression. I recommend sending a thank you email or letter within 24 to 48 hours after your final interview. Sooner is always better. Use this as an opportunity to thank the interviewer for their time, reiterate your specific excitement for the role, and quickly recap why you believe you're an excellent fit. If somebody's referred you for the job, reach out to them briefly to thank them and update them here as well. This is an especially critical step after the final interview because it's your last chance to demonstrate your professionalism and remind them of your key offerings. For a full video on how to write a standout follow-up email, complete with examples, I highly recommend checking out this video right here. Tip number 6, refine your whys. There are 2 big why questions you'll likely encounter in a final interview. The first is, why should the employer say yes to you over someone else? In short, why should they hire you? Now, we have a great video that goes into detail on how to answer this question, and you can check that out right here. The key takeaway is this. Consider how your unique background and skill set prime you to be the best person for this particular role. Specificity is key. The second why question is, why do you want to work here? Note this question is not, do you want to work here? Most people generally know that employers want to see enthusiastic employees. So people might find themselves saying, I'm generally excited about this opportunity. And that might be really nice for the interviewer to hear, but it doesn't give them any reason to believe you. It doesn't give them any more information about who you are. Instead, if you could explain why this opportunity supports your career goals, you're explaining why you'd naturally be eager for the opportunity. And you're showing them that you're a forward thinker. Go beyond making statements and tell them a story. Tip 7, invite the interviewer to share any hesitations about you. Now, I know that this might sound like career suicide. Why would you want the interviewer to list off reasons not to hire you? But by asking for feedback, you're showing that you have the desire to learn and grow. And these are traits many employers look for in their employees. Remember, by asking this question, you must be able to discuss your weaknesses without being defensive. After all, you are the person that's inviting the feedback. And this may all sound daunting, but initiating the topic could be as simple as saying, do you have any remaining reservations about hiring me that I could address? Or if you'd prefer to be less direct, you could say something like, is there anything else I can share or discuss to further support my fit for this role? It may be the case that they don't have any reservations or that they don't care to share them with you, and that's okay. You've at least demonstrated your ability to have transparent communication and show that you welcome critical feedback. If they do share concerns, that's also good. They're being honest with you and they're providing you an opportunity to change their mind. Calmly and openly respond by putting their specific concerns to rest. Citing past experiences and being objective can be excellent tools for this kind of discussion. It can feel like a risky move, but the opportunity to remove hesitations and demonstrate that you welcome feedback can have a big payoff. Tip 8, adapt to your audience. As I mentioned before, you're unlikely to find many questions about your qualifications at this stage in the hiring. Rather than demonstrating that you can do the job, your new goal is to convince the interviewer that you are the best person to do it with their team. By the final interview, the new question you need to answer is, how would you fit in with this team? In order to make a winning case, it helps to know a bit more about who your audience is. So if you have the name of your final interviewer, check out their professional social media profile. How do they describe themselves? Can you learn anything about what they seem to value? If you aren't provided with the name of your interviewer, it's perfectly appropriate to ask an HR rep if they can share with you who you're going to be speaking with. Check out the company's About Us, staff, or people page on their website to find out more information about your potential interviewer. You may be talking to the hiring manager, but if your interview is with a senior level executive, keep in mind that they may not be familiar with or value technicalities. And with interviewers at all levels, pay attention to the qualities that they admire or problems that they're trying to solve. Then frame your statements accordingly. And finally, knowing your audience also means matching the person's energy. Are they formal or casual? Are they a talker, or do they seem to want you to speak more? Gather this information in the moment and then adapt. Above all, remain positive and confident in your demeanor. And now for my final tip on avoiding a common mistake. Tip 9, do not negotiate salary in the final round. Many people make the mistake of trying to negotiate salary at this stage in the interview process. And this is a big mistake. They haven't made you an offer yet. Until a formal offer's been made, real negotiation can't begin. That's not to say that salary can't be discussed at all in the interview. If the topic of salary comes up, it's wise to provide an idea of your expectations and the form of a salary range so that their offer isn't a total lowball. But you want to be short and sweet. It's best to wait to make your case until the offer and a lot more power is in your hands. For more specific information on how to approach salary negotiation throughout the whole interview process, I recommend checking out this video. All right, let's quickly review the top 9 things you need to keep in mind to ace your final interview. Prepare for behavioral questions. Don't rehash your qualifications. Talk about how you use your skills to tackle future challenges. Demonstrate your knowledge for the role. Review your notes so you can reference what you've learned in prior interviews. Ask informed, thoughtful questions. I recommend preparing at least 3 questions to ask at the end of an interview. Be clear about your commitments. If you can demonstrate that you're in it for the long haul, you can make employers more interested in investing in you. Send a follow-up email. While it may seem like an outdated practice, it's your last chance to make an impression and demonstrate gratitude. Refine your whys. Create strong answers about why they should hire you and why you want to work for them. Invite the interviewer to share hesitations about you. When done correctly, this helps you show maturity and it gives you a chance to address possible concerns. Adapt to your audience. Check out their professional profiles, consider their title, and match their energy. Do not try to negotiate salary in the final round. Save negotiating for when you have an offer and power in hand. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button down below and subscribe to our channel right here. For more tips on interviewing, I recommend checking out this playlist. And for a video on how to answer the 10 trickiest interview questions, be sure to check this one out. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.